What's up, traders? This is the weekly outlook video for January 15th or 14th, 2024. And I haven't said 2023 yet, but I'm sure it'll start happening. So last week we had CPI, we had inflation data, we had production inflation, and then this week core retail sales. So it's pretty significant because last week's higher inflation numbers, which you can see right here, slightly higher inflation, pretty, it's creeping up there. It shouldn't be a shock to anybody. So now retail sales, it's significant to have that the following week because now it's like how much is the consumer, normal people like you and I, how much are we purchasing and shopping, and how much is the inflation affecting consumer behavior, essentially. So are we spending money or are we not spending money because of the inflation? So if we dive in here, we have out of Canada too, the inflation. I think Tuesday is going to be a pretty big day. It's going to be quiet until then. Core retail sales on Wednesday, and then Thursday unemployment, and that kind of retail sales out of the UK. And I'm going to talk about the pound going forward, right? So now the pound I talked about in the weekly recap video, the bullishness on GBP JPY here, nice bullish flag, like pretty textbook. Now if we look at what's going on here, and I like to trade with the 200 moving average. This is an envelope. And so this is kind of like my line in the sand, right? So now if we're above here, going to be looking for buying opportunities, buying the dip, right? So now we are above some pretty significant levels if we're looking at pound Aussie here, right? So kind of just sitting on the support. Here we go. And you can see we already broke out on GJ. Now this a very similar pattern on Euro Yen here. Move up, bull flag. We've price flag consolidated, and then next move higher. So we might even continue this trend. We'll see, right? So I think that the likelihood that we continue to move higher in these yen pairs pretty high, right? Here's Swiss yen, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. And which is interesting because, man, like we saw some pretty strong bearish moves at the end of last year for the yen. It got my hopes up, I will say, because I think everybody who doesn't like a good sell on GJ, right? It always sells off fast, but it's looking pretty strong, looking pretty bullish. So interestingly enough too, now last week was very frustrating because we were in some pretty range bound trading activity, and would have thought that the dollar would have just like gained more strength because of the stronger inflation, so that is like, then the next question, does that mean the Fed is going to raise interest rates? Are they going to remain hawkish? And if they are, then that would traditionally strengthen the dollar, right? We would see dollar strength as a result of that. But we still stayed range bound. So now the question is going to be, are we going to see some dollar strength out of that? And interestingly enough as well, gold, right? So gold was holding pretty steady, even looking kind of little limp there. But we finished the week above a pretty significant level of resistance right here, right? So there we go. So that was looking pretty strong for gold. Now, if we're still talking about potential dollar strength and tying that in with yen weakness, I think dollar yen right here looks like a really good play. So early in the week, I will be looking to long side more than likely on UJ. Now pound CAD, I got in some a buy right here, got taken out at entry, but same deal. We're above this 200, we're sitting on support, and I would keep a close eye out on these pound pairs. I hope that we see some movement to the upside, because as opposed to just more range-bound price action, which is definitely the story last week. So I do think we are Euro odd. We're at just an inflection point right here. Euro CAD's in that in between zone. So we'll see what happens with the euro, with the pound. That's definitely going to be on my radar. Is yen going to continue its weakness here? And if so, then how can we capitalize on that? And for myself, UJ is probably the number one contender there. I think dollar CAD is in an interesting space because, and getting back to this just super frustrating price action of this past week, we're at inflection point, and we have I'm gonna say Canadian CPI that's going to be on Tuesday. So that is going to be a massive mover for the loonie dollar CAD. So it's going to be a big week. I think we are going to break out of these ranges, and when they do, sometimes you don't, like, when you're waiting for things to set up, you don't have to trade. And that's like a huge lesson, for me especially, a lot of times, because you sit down and you want to get in a trade, so you just start trading. But if your setup's not there, if the market is setting itself up, you have to prepare yourself to run the play and to run your system, your strategy, and the way you make money, and not just sitting down to trade, because you like trading, or because that's the exact same logic of walking into casino, sitting down at a blackjack table and playing blackjack because you like playing blackjack. You can always sit down at the table. You can always place a bet, and you can always sit down and click a mouse and place a trade. But if you're doing that, you're not following your play. You're not following. You're not running it, right? You're just trading for the sake of trading. So remember that. Get your psychology right, and let's crush it this week, everybody. Peace.